Hi, my name is Grayson Sharp. This is my RCA final. Today I'm interviewing David Steele. He is a high school physics teacher at Doherty High School. I've let you read my paper already on video games and the use of video games in classrooms as a teaching tool, and I just have a few questions for you.
Sounds good.
First of which is, do you think the idea of a whole is doable at all, or is it even viable? That kind of deal.
I think there are pros and cons. The pros are the students it can engage them in different ways.
Mhm.
Maybe some students who are really good at games or really come alive during those times. That might actually help them. For those who really don't have a gaming background, I think it can kind of hinder them, intimidate them.
Yeah, I kind of take for granted that a lot of my friends, pretty much all my friends, are all gamers in their own right. So I
Right.
kind of take for granted that that's a thing.
Right, exactly. And
Yeah,
in the paper that you wrote, you mentioned that in terms of like a lot of males are really into games for the most part, and females generally are not. I mean, there's an exception, obviously, that a lot of females
I
are.
think it was like a 40-60 on women being for video games
Okay,
versus
right.
not, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But there's still a split. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
as
It's a
great as one would
it's a
think.
good chunk of
Right.
of girls who just don't play video games
Right.
whatsoever.
And so they might feel a bit intimidated by that.
Mhm. Fair enough.
And then the cons are like everything else. Uh, Depending on the game, you can have, like when I was reading the paper, you have some students who are just so wanting to get to the next level that they'll Google, they'll AI, they'll do anything they can to get to the next level, not worrying about learning anything.
Oh.
And I know that happens with
Yeah, I
a
hadn't even
lot.
thought about the whole cheating aspect of video games.
Well, the reason why I do is because my wife works for online school thing, and the students are cheating their ways through, and they're trying to stop them, but parents are fighting them because some of the parents just want them to get the diploma. They don't care how they get it.
Right.
And a lot of teachers are like, oh no, you can't. You're cheating, and So that's the first thing I thought of was that if it's something online, students will
Figure out a way past it.
exactly. Some of them, not all of them, but they'll try to
Okay.
figure out a way just to get the next level. Say, ha, I'm on level 4. Where are you at? Bragging rights.
Interesting.
And that could be a downfall as well. But
Right aspect
there
only.
could be some good ones as well, good aspects, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking of some bad ones as well.
Fair enough. Okay. I guess in my head I thought of using, here in the classroom, we would have everyone have their own laptop, and on it would be downloaded a copy of whatever game it was. And then here in the class, we would use it as almost like a simulation, almost like the PhET simulators. You ever use those? PhET?
Oh,
Yeah. Using one of those just to show an example of what we're talking about.
Right.
When it comes to momentum or thrust or forces, even. The game that comes to mind is Kerbal Space Program.
Right.
Yeah.
I've heard of it. I've never played it.
It's of you're building rockets and you're exploring the solar system and whatnot, just using rockets. But you
Right,
have to
yeah.
build the rockets. You have to build them correctly, symmetrically, so they don't fall over. You have to get them into orbit and then fly around with them and then get back, et cetera, et cetera. But it requires knowledge of all these fundamental basic laws of physics.
It's applying the information they up to that point have learned.
Yes.
It's like the boat project. The students take what they have learned in terms of buoyancy, make a boat, and then we get to go try it.
Yes.
So I think some of these game things would be awesome once they've been given the foundation of that information. Okay, now take that foundation, and now I want you to apply it to this. And I think in that case, I think it'd be actually pretty good. But I don't know, would it be a good idea to do it in school, or is that kind of a project outside of school that they would have to work on?
Almost like homework.
Yeah, almost like a homework assignment, or just kind
Yeah,
of
if you assign
project.
okay, you got to get this rocket to this planet in this game. So, okay,
Right.
that's
And you
your
have
homework.
until, let's say we started in January. You have until March 3rd, and I'll be teaching you this stuff as we go, and then that you guys can apply that information, keep going. I mean, I think you have to start it in class.
Mhm.
That way, everyone gets a feel of kind of what's going on. You can help them. So with that,
So it sounds like the game would have to be custom tailored to a classroom setting.
right.
Like Kerbal Space Program 1 wouldn't work perfectly because everything you need to know is out of order from what's being taught.
So they would have
Like,
to
you
kind of
gotta
final.
know.
It would have to be like a final project. You know, that you have to teach
Yeah.
it. Bam. Like I guess in buoyancy, I had to teach everything, and they said, okay,
Now
now
you
we're going
know.
to vote project. We're going to work on some other stuff, but now you have all the information, so work on that until such and such date.
Okay, yeah.
And so that actually be pretty good for that, because once you've taught all the aspects of the rocket, the booster, the center of mass, you know, just whatever you
Thrust
needed,
versus drag.
exactly. Then you can say, okay, now apply that, and
Okay.
show me, and then you can make your presentations during this week.
That'd be cool, bro. Just like have everyone, like your presentation is you, like you sit up front or whatever, and you do it
Right.
on screen. You're
Right.
like, okay, let's make it happen, and then you do it on screen.
You do a presentation, exactly. You can,
That would be
and the students can explain why did they do what they did.
while the rocket's in flight. Or whatever.
Right, exactly, and that way, and you don't want anyone to say, "Oh, well, I didn't think about that and change this." You want everyone to have their own right now, and then you could always say, "Okay, now that everyone's given their presentations, you saw what your rocket did versus what someone else did. Now, what can you do to make it better?" Now utilize. You can utilize the same thing, but it can't be focused just on that. Your class has to keep moving. You know, that's why I'm thinking it has to be kind of an outside project, but yet still give them points because you want them to learn.
So now I'm wondering if we could come up with a video game like that, like built for teaching physics. Like it would start with step 1, that'd be Newton's first law, and then step 2, step 3, step 4. And like as you learned more about physics, you could use that to like almost like leveling up in a game or like expanding a tech tree in a game. You could expand the scope of the game. You can do more and more and more with it.
Yeah, I guess engineers use a lot of the physics to make and create things, and so I wonder if that would be more of an engineering project, you know. In other words, if
like
you were,
do this in an engineering class,
not necessarily do it together. Like in other words, if you worked if you worked at the physics department, worked with an engineering class, but unfortunately not all of them are involved.
Yeah,
and that'd be a downside. They would have to be everybody. Oh yeah, we will all take physics, you know.
So the last question that I had, and we've already kind of touched on this a little bit, but it seems like you think that video games could be used in class as a teaching tool under certain circumstances. Is that correct?
I don't know if I would say they'd be good to use in the class as on a constant basis. Like simulations are one thing, but I think a game would be more of like a project to be done outside of class. And I guess that's kind of my current feeling. I mean, unless someone came up with something and showed me, and I think, oh wait, yeah, that's pretty good, you know. But right now, I just
tailored to a class.
Right, but right now I've used a ton of different simulations for whether it's electronics, whether it's projectile motion, like defense simulations or something like that, or I've used it, but never as a total project for the class. You know, build this, do this.
Okay, fair enough.
And get to the next level. You know, I just don't know of any, I guess.
Okay, fair enough. Well, in the end, you think it's, just to summarize, I'd say you think it is viable, but under very specific circumstances, and not as like a foundation for the entire class, but more as like a project, like an end-of-semester project after they've been taught the basics of everything. Would that be right? Would that be true?
I think it has, again, it has pros and cons. I mean, like everything else, I think it could be good for some students and not for others. So it's something that would have to be tried and to see, does it work for your class or does it not?
Okay.
Because you're going to get everything from A to Z. And you never quite know.
Fair point. All right, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course.